So I'm going to make myself a sandwich. I just want to preface this by saying my way is not the only way. Everyone's hand and arm injuries are different. And so certain techniques and tools may not work for everyone. And sometimes it takes a while to figure out what tool and the way you hold it and use it is the least painful on you. So for me, it's just been trial and error. Again, this is my method. Your mileage may vary. So the first thing I did was boil eggs. Now, you can boil eggs on the stove, in a pot, hot water, you know, the usual. But what I have found, and a friend of mine introduced me to, and I love, is an actual egg cooker. So you open it up, and all you do is you place the eggs, pierce them on this rack, fill it up with the appropriate amount of water, and forget about it. And then after X amount of time, the timer will go off and alert you that your eggs are done.
What does that mean, pierce them?
Oh, on the very bottom of this device, and also it's kind of hard to see, you can get an egg piercer. So that's so that the egg doesn't explode under pressure.
We wouldn't want that. We wouldn't want the eggs exploding.
No, it's something, you know, you do as a child when you're trying to teach yourself to cook, and yeah, bad idea. Anyway, so once you've got the eggs, you want to put them in a bath of ice water, and then they peel better. But how do you peel them when your thumbs don't work? And this is my issue. One of my biggest issues are my thumbs. I've got very little strength behind them. They're kind of just useless. Anyway, so peeling the eggshell off, it's a huge pain. So I actually read about this technique. You can get rid of the shell by filling up, say, a mason jar. Hang on. Enough water to cover the egg, or thereabout. So about half to the full thing. So this is in the mason jar now. Okay. You put the lid on it, and this is a great time to vent your frustrations out. Now, that's probably the most energetic thing you're going to have to do for this recipe. So there we go. So that's taking the eggs, cooking them, hard boil, obviously, and then shell them. And now we get to start putting everything together. You want to get things that are comfortable for you. I only have a couple of Japanese knives, but I do love them. And this one I use just for vegetables, and keep them very sharp. That's really important. If you have concerns over the sharpness, they do make gloves that are rubberized on one side and also reinforced so they can't be punctured or punctured easily, definitely not with a kitchen knife. And then the other side is just soft fabric. They mold to your skin, so when I'm having a bad hand day and I'm shaking way too much, the gloves make sure that I'm less likely to cut myself. You can use shallots, or I prefer red onion because they are a little bit crunchier, and I like a little bit of crunch with my egg salad. Again, how you hold everything, how you cut is up to you, right? Whatever is going to work. Now, I just cut up the red onion in quarters, and just, you know, about that thick. Now, this is one of my other favorite kitchen implements. This is a mini chopper. There's just a really sharp S blade in here. It's really small. You can chop and you can puree, but I use it primarily just for chopping little things like onions. I've got a big food processor for larger tasks like my salsa, but this is great just for throwing the onions in and then securing the lid on top. Now, I also recommend using some of that fabric. It's just sort of like plasticky foam. Sometimes people put it, underneath pieces of furniture, things on it that they don't want to slide. So I use this in the kitchen all the time to make sure this is not going to slide, right? Because again, hands. So now you just chop it to your desired choppedness. There we go. And chopped onion, done. So I only need a 1/4 cup. I'm just going to normally don't do as I do. Don't stick your fingers in here with the S blade. I mean, at least I unplugged it, but don't you do that. So now the next thing we want to do is we need to mash the eggs up. There are many different ways you can do this. You can use your hands, don't recommend it. You can use just a normal potato masher, but my wrists really don't like that. I use this for a variety of things, but definitely not for anything with major resistance. But again, that may be suitable for you. What I like, so this is also a potato masher, but it does offer a few different styles. So for instance, oops, there we go. You can see how fine the mash would be, but I can turn this to open it up. So you can get your desired thickness of what you're putting through here, which I like because I like my egg salad sandwiches, a little chunky rather than just completely mashed. So, oh, and the other good feature is this end here has a lip. You'll see an indent. That goes beautifully over top of a bowl. So really all you're having to do is just put it on there. Then open it up, pop in an egg, and gently or a little more firmly press. So that's one way you can squeeze this. Again, my thumbs are terrible, so I find that a little uncomfortable. I start closing it, and then I just do this. Whoops. Normally you don't stick your fingers in the middle there. It's like sliding around. See, again, make sure you have a lot of those little grippy mats that you can place around. All right, so I'm just going to keep doing this. I'm going to use my forearm, and I just take it slow. Yeah, there's no, it's not a life or death situation unless you really have a hankering for the egg salad sandwich.
Well, I'll tell you something. Everybody wants to have egg salad sandwiches now that you're doing this. I'm telling people, well, got this egg salad sandwich episode coming. Oh, can she do potato salad?
Well, this weekend, I'm going to be experimenting. Now, normally I would scrape everything. Let's do it. We don't want to waste any. So probably want to edit this out. Look like I'm fighting with it. So now, whoops. So the eggs are done. Now, of course, there's the other ingredients. But again, I do like the larger chunks of egg. Mayonnaise. My partner is lactose intolerant. This is vegan mayonnaise. It tastes exactly the same. This is basil mustard. So yeah, I like a little bit of basil in that.
Did you add the basil yourself, or did you get the prepared mustard with basil?
It came that way. I love mustard, so I can't resist a new mustard that I find interesting.
Yeah.
So I have fresh parsley. Oops. And I couldn't get any fresh chives, so these are dried chives, but it'll work. And we have some lemon juice. This is hot smoked paprika.
Ooh.
So just a pinch, just enough to give it a little kick. You don't want too much because egg salad is already a very subtle flavor. You don't want to just replace it all with something really spicy, but it's nice to have just a little bit of heat. Bill, just combine this before I add in the rest of the ingredients. Now, again, if you have something underneath the bowl that will take the pressure, now I'm using 2 hands to stir. And because, you know, sometimes you might want to trade off hands, use both hands. Again, you don't have to use a spatula. I like to, you know, again, experiment what's going to work for you in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Now, this is one of my favorite add-ons, celery. Celery adds a nice little crunch. The red onion. So those are, and another life-saving thing, or risk-saving, I should say, are salt and pepper mills that are battery powered. Because the button's on the top, I don't have to worry about how I grab it. Some of them have the button on the side, so you have to hold it a certain way. This is good because you can just use whatever body part, so to speak, to press on it. And I even came up with a new routine. So if I need a lot of pepper for a recipe or salt, I put it in one of my ramekins and then I just lean on it. Then you want to put it on some bread. You want to use a relatively soft bread. Because otherwise everything gets too mushy. Although it's nice to have some sort of green in there. You can use thinly sliced cucumber. I like that. These are some sprouts. So I'm going to make myself a sandwich. And the other thing I want to say is if you're cooking and you haven't been cooking for a while because of your wrists, don't worry about how it looks. As long as, seriously, as long as it's relatively healthy, and you know, you didn't hurt yourself too bad, that's all that matters.
And fresh food, freshly prepared, is really the way to go.
Yeah, for sure.
It's healing. You know, your body needs that good nutrition.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And we forget about that.
Well, bon appetit.